Hello, viewers. Welcome to Majesty Christian Television Network. My name is Apostle Helen Rudokino. It's a pleasure having you, and you also having me on your screen from whichever device you are watching this broadcast. As we know, our topic today is on coronavirus vaccines, the reality and the myths. Since COVID-19 broke out a year ago, nearly 2 million people have died so far. 90.1 million have contacted the virus and 64.5 million have recovered. By the close of 2020, at least 2 main vaccines had been sanctioned for use by the USA, UK, and the EU. These, the Pfizer-Biontech and the Moderna vaccines. Prior to the arrival of our vaccines, there have been already on mainstream and on social media claims, counter-claims as well as conspiracy theories about the vaccines, what the content and what they are intended with the use. Our guest today is Dr. Chiksonwu, a thoracic and cardiovascular surgeon, a Nigerian-American-based doctor whose practice is in Long Island. He has 33 years of experience in the field and has his practice in Long Island. In this show, we wish to address some of these important questions. So we encourage you to call us on 02033 74160, or you join the YouTube, or you watch us live on YouTube, or send your WhatsApp chat on 316260464432. We will be very willing to have an interactive time together with you and Dr. Chiksonwu. So on this note, please, all our fans, join us as we welcome Dr. Chiksonwu, our own person. Dr. Chiks, please. Wow.
Thank you,
Welcome
viewers.
to Majesty TV, Dr. Chiks.
Thank you, Apostle.
It's a pleasure having you, and we want to send our appreciation already for you to make time to want to talk to your own people on some of our concerns.
Glad to be here.
Thank you, sir. Now, we also have an activist who is on the background, so he will be asking some few questions regarding to this discussion. So our first question, Dr. Chiks, is with the rate at which the infection is going around the world, how much danger do you think the virus still poses to the world as a whole?
Before I start, I'd like to show the symbol that is very important.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a political statement.
Okay.
This is very important for all this discussion we're having. And in spite of discussions on the vaccine, today, this is still one of the main aims to protect us from this pandemic, together with the hand hygiene, the safe distancing, and all the other protective measures. Now, your question concerning this pandemic, it still poses a big threat. And it is not like the flu vaccine that has been falsely reported all over the social media.
Yeah.
This has a very high mortality rate compared to some of the other ills in our society.
Okay.
As you mentioned, more than 2 million people have died in 1 year from this illness. And it's still raging in different parts of the world. In the United States, for instance, you can see the numbers, both in terms of the total patients who have contracted the disease, as well as those who have died. Our numbers have been, unfortunately, astronomical. So it is real, and we encourage everybody to understand that this is a big problem and we all have to work together to protect ourselves, also to make every effort to bring this to a conclusion.
Yeah. This whole thing is so embarrassing and so shocking. Every time you open the news, you only hear of deaths and deaths and deaths. That we begin to wonder if people have been dying since last year till now, dying like this, how many more are supposed to die with this virus? And why is this virus so different from other ones?
Well, this is when this all started early last year. It was a spillover. This started about late November to early December of 2019 in Wuhan, China.
Yes.
The details are still being investigated, but it's believed that this is a transfer from birds or some form of animal into humans. So to the humans, this is a new vaccine, it's a new virus. That's why they use the initial words, novel virus. When it all started, it had no name. It was just called novel, which means new virus. And all we know is that it's a very contagious virus, and it does a lot of harm within a short period of time. It creates what we call a cascade of reactions in the human body, where, if you will, it allows the body to destroy itself. So it establishes some form of chemical reactions in specific areas of the body where it can penetrate.
Yes.
And when it does, a cascade, which is the word cascade means a domino effect of several reactions taking place, 1, 2, 3, and unless the reaction is terminated or stopped, it will continue until the patient dies. And as we speak, most of the time, we don't have cures for viruses, but we tend to have ways to limit the reaction while allowing the body to respond. So it's not like a bacteria. Viruses are not like bacteria where you can manufacture a particular antibiotics that destroys the bacteria and you get well. Viruses are different. So eventually we're going to be talking about vaccines and other safe measures.
Yeah. So can you explain how the virus works to infect and eventually kill people?
The coronavirus, there have been several coronaviruses that are known, and the research has worked on for several years.
Yeah.
There have also been several SARS and SARS-like, which is systemic, severe acute respiratory syndromes that affect the body by creating severe respiratory difficulties.
Okay.
Now, this coronavirus is caused by a virus called SARS-CoV-2. SARS-CoV-2 can only penetrate into the human body at certain sites that are receptive.
Okay.
So there are cells in the human body called angiotensin cells.
Okay.
Angiotensin 2 cells. Now, these angiotensin cells are located in the nose,
Okay.
in the mouth,
Okay.
in the ears,
Okay.
in the lungs,
Okay.
and and in the intestines. So, if you put your skin on the coronavirus,
Yeah.
on the SARS-CoV-2,
Yeah.
it cannot get into your skin.
Okay.
On your hand, for instance, it cannot
Yes.
get. It cannot. If you put the back of your hand on the table where SARS-CoV-2 viruses,
Yeah.
it can never penetrate into your body
Okay.
because the angiotensin 2 cells are not located there.
Okay.
But when your hand carrying the virus comes up to your face and touches your face,
Okay.
those cells, the angiotensin 2 cells, are located in your mouth, your nose, your eyes. Now, you have transported the enzyme from the table or from any other surface in your house
Really?
onto the area that makes it easy for it to penetrate into you.
Wow.
So that is why the emphasis on hand washing
Yes.
is very important. Now, in terms of social distancing, when you cough and you're carrying the virus,
Yeah.
if I have the virus and I have symptoms, or I may not have symptoms, but when I cough, or when I sing, or when I shout, I am exporting the virus into the air. Now, if you are close to me and the virus lands on your back, for instance, nothing happens to you. But if you happen to be facing me,
Okay.
and the virus lands in your face,
Yes.
it gets in. Or if you and I are in an elevator and we're going up, 10 stories or how many stories high, we're going to do some business on several floors, and we have to, both of us find ourselves in an elevator, and we are talking, and one of us has the virus. As we talk, we spill the virus into thin air.
Yes.
So those are called droplets.
Droplets, yes.
So through the droplets, the next person there, very close, is inhaling the droplets.
Exactly.
And when you inhale, you take it in.
Wow.
It might land on your face, it might land on your nose, it might land on the back of your throat. But just like you breathe air in and out, it can also go all the way straight down into your lungs. But then, what happens is the volume, the amount of the virus
Yes.
that you take in, we call the virus load, determines how quickly you get sick. So if you took in a small dose of the vaccine, part of the virus, you may not get sick. Or you can get ill, but then you may not really exhibit the symptoms.
Exactly.
And at some point, you begin to transfer the same illness to other people. So that's why some people have no symptoms, but they can still transfer to others.
Then it becomes dangerous to face shield. It becomes dangerous because if you say by the droplets, the thing can move through it can enter through the mouth, nose, the ear, and all of that. Then it becomes dangerous to be walking without the shield.
Well, yes and no. The fact is that it's...
Because what I mean is, if you only have the mask, only the nose mask, then what about this other side that is still exposed? And somebody is speaking to you, and then so I think maybe if you have the shield, as I put this one on now, if I have this shield, then If anything is coming, it's not touching my face. Then my face and even part of my neck is also covered a little bit. So the thing cannot penetrate, it cannot go beyond that level. You see? So this
Correct.
become more better than only just the mask for me.
Very good. Yes, yes. If and that is if you are being exposed to an environment of high risk, like for us in hospital, we have to have, in addition to the mask, you have to have the goggles, or you can have the shield. For the average person on the street, if you are 6 feet away, you should be good. Obviously, if you have a shield, it's very important to wear it as well. If you are going to be in a mass transit system, you're getting in by train or so,
Yeah.
it's very important to have the two. You have your mask, and then you have your shield or your goggles as well for extra protection. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, those of you who are just joining in or tuning in, please, we are having 101 with Dr. Chuks Owo, a thoracic surgeon, Nigerian American based doctor in Long Island. Our topic today is on coronavirus vaccines, the reality and the myths. Now, let's go to the vaccines and the types. Which are the official or recognized vaccines which are not available, and what are the main difference between them?
Okay. At this point, there are still some vaccines in the process. Now, in the United States, for instance, and in Europe,
Okay.
there are three main in the forefront. Now, the Pfizer vaccine has been approved in the US and in Europe. The Moderna has also been approved in US and in Europe. The Astrazeneca vaccine, in conjunction with the University of Oxford, has been approved in the UK and is now undergoing approval in the United States and other parts of the world.
Okay.
The Russian vaccine, called the Sputnik 5, was approved in Russia, but has not gone through the normal international protocols. So, the Western world are yet to evaluate it. Okay?
Okay.
There is a Johnson & Johnson vaccine,
Johnson and Johnson.
Johnson & Johnson, that is still in the process.
Yeah.
And there's a vaccine that is being evaluated, made in China, made by the Chinese, that is still being evaluated in China. And eventually, those will submit the information for international review. And in addition to these 5 or 6, there may still be a few more in the early stages of preparations before they will undergo evaluation at some point. Now, in terms of what types of vaccines these are, for several years, there used to be just one modality of making vaccines. It's either you have the real virus, which is killed, or you have the real virus, which is weakened and used to make the vaccines. Now, these days, that is where these new things came up, using a new technology called messenger RNA to make the vaccines specific to targeted areas. So, the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine are both messenger RNA viruses.
Okay. Okay.
The use of messenger RNA to make vaccines is brand new, But that technology has been available for more than 10 years. I like to re-emphasize this because there's been a lot of fear that this is the first time the messenger RNAs have been used to create a vaccine. But it does not mean that this is the first time messenger RNAs have been used in medicine.
Okay.
For more than 10 years, messenger RNAs have been used in gene therapy and other forms of cancer treatment.
Okay. Okay. You see, this broadcast is very important because we are clarifying things that the ordinary people do not know, because there's a lot of rumor going on about all of these vaccines. But please hold on there. Let me just ask you one of these questions. All these countries you made mention about producing the vaccines, why is it that Africa is not mentioned? And or is it that we don't have virologists and whatever who can also produce something that can help Africa? Why is it that I heard Europe, I heard America, I heard China, even there's the one you call Sputnik? Is it Putin? Is he taking something like it? You call it Sputnik?
Yes, Sputnik 5.
Yeah, Sputnik 5. If Sputnik, that's for Russia.
Yes.
And then we don't have a whole Africa, Africa that is producing people like you out there. How come that we don't have anything? Why can't we also, our medical the practitioners and virologists and the pharmacists, why can't they produce something that can also give Africa a name in this time? Well, so these ones that these people produce now, Africans, are we going to use it, or if they are going to use it only for themselves?
No, the problem with Africa is we've had poor management for years. And unfortunately, African leaders have never come together to see how to move Africa forward, either regionally or together as a continent. We have a lot of poor leadership.
Well, I don't intend to make you digress from your distance. So please, just concentrate and give us what we need to hear. So I'm just voicing out my little anger because I've been just wanting you to tell me. Yes, this is really funny.
I understand, but I'd like to take a minute to simply explain on that.
Okay.
The manpower is available. There are a lot of Africans in diaspora who can help Africa, but we don't have the leadership necessary to bring these brains together, either in different countries or collectively, to do something like this. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of money. I want to repeat that. It takes a lot of money to engage in vaccine manufacturing, in vaccine research, in vaccine creation. So, if you don't bring out a lot of money to get this going, nothing gets done. Now back to the main.
Okay.
We're hoping that when these vaccines are manufactured in all these areas, that countries in Africa will put up money up front to vaccinate its citizens free of charge, just like it's being done in other big countries. And there's a lot of several programs, several societies, charity organizations that are putting heads together to try to raise money for some of these African countries to benefit as well.
Okay. So you have diffused the meat behind the messenger RNA brand.
Right.
All right. So can you then explain the mechanism on how the COVID vaccine works in contrast with prior vaccines?
All right, so let me have the first slide, please.
Okay.
So for the viewers, again, these are these pictures are available on the social media. These are
Yes.
borrowed from Google. So courtesy, I'll have to give courtesy to Google
Okay.
from this. This is what the corona virus looks like. This is SARS-CoV-2. All right.
Yeah.
So to understand how to create a vaccine against this virus, you have to know the anatomy of this vaccine, of this virus.
Okay.
So, as soon as this was identified in Wuhan, the Chinese scientists were able to publish this in the science medium, letting scientists know what the genetic makeup of this virus is. So this virus has, as a corona, the corona means like a crown.
Crown, yes.
So it's known to have about 29 proteins on the surface.
Oh, really?
One of this is called the spike
The spike.
protein. It enters the body
Yes.
only through that particular. It's like if you're going to the moon.
Yeah.
When you arrive at the moon, you have to land with your feet.
Okay.
So that spike protein is the only way this virus can get into the human body. At the sites where those cells, the angiotensin 2 cells, as I said before, are in the face, the mouth, the nose, the eyes,
Yes.
the intestine.
Yes. Yes.
So if the virus lands at those sites, it can only enter, like you have a cup and you have an entrance.
Yeah.
So you have a receptor and then you have the spike protein entering. Okay?
Yeah.
This is the only way the virus can invade your body. So what science was trying to do is to try to create a vaccine that will look like this.
Oh.
Okay, looks like this.
Yeah.
And when the virus arrives with its feet and enters, this blocks it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So that's the principle.
Okay.
Now, using, as I said before, the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine, they use the messenger RNA technique. Now, the Astrazeneca vaccine is using the old system. The old system is you take a real virus and either you kill it or you weaken it. But AstraZeneca went one step further. They are not using the COVID virus. They are using what they call an adenovirus, and it's a different virus, an adenovirus that is found in chimpanzees.
Oh.
And then they will manipulate that,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
genetically to create the antibodies that will counteract COVID-19.
These ones are found in chimpanzees.
Well, it's just because it's found in chimpanzees, yes. But you know, in the public domain, we don't have to give all these extra details.
All right.
The fact is that the AstraZeneca type vaccines, imagine it will be like having a car, having a Mercedes car,
Mm-hmm.
You take off the engines, you take off the insides of that car,
Yeah.
and then you put in
Volkswagen.
some, something else. You put in something else that
Yeah.
allows to be delivered into the human body and allow the human body to create antibodies against COVID.
Oh, that process is too long.
So that is why the messenger RNA technique
Yeah.
is more attractive.
What does that word really do? Can you explain to us?
So the messenger RNA,
Mm-hmm.
if you should show me this, the second slide, the third slide, please.
Okay.
The third slide. This is the
Okay.
third slide. So on the left side is the DNA. Everybody has seen that somehow.
Yeah.
The DNA are two strands of proteins that go around like steps in a swirl. So it's called a double helix. Now, if you untie that, each of them is an mRNA. Each of them is a ribonucleic acid. Okay? So there are different types of ribonucleic acids. The messenger, which is the second one, is simply created for a particular purpose. If the body wants to make any type of protein, the DNA will transcribe itself into a single strand. That single strand is the RNA. And in this case, as a messenger, it's designed, it will be encoded with specific instructions to create a particular protein.
Wow.
So, in the case of making the vaccine
Yeah.
for COVID, rather than creating a vaccine for the entire virus, scientists recognize that this virus can only enter the human body through the spike protein. So, all they did was simply to create the messenger RNA that would take instructions to duplicate the spike protein necessary to mimic the spike protein.
Okay.
So now that they have created this messenger RNA that specifically encodes for that spike protein, then they bring it in, and then for it to get into the human body, it cannot do that by itself. Let me have the next slide, please.
All right.
So this is what a cell looks like.
Oh.
This is what a cell looks like. Obviously, the vaccine has to get into the human body.
Yes.
Okay? And when it does, it's entering here. So every cell has regular components around it, and the center, which is the nucleus. So when you hear some arguments on social media
Yeah.
that the virus is going to change your genetic component,
Yeah. Exactly. DNA.
a lie. A lie. Leave that again. Leave that slide on for a second.
Wow.
Because when the vaccine comes into you, it's
Yes.
injected, it has been brought in using a particular chemical called the nanoparticles. It's kind of some fatty material to
Yeah.
allow it to get to where it goes. It can only get into the periphery called the cytoplasm around it, not into the nucleus. It does the work through ribosomes. And ribosomes are some of these things you see in the cell, not in the nucleus. So this virus and the messenger RNA has a message to deliver. That message to deliver comes only into the cytoplasm of the cell, not into the center. Okay, so now you can take it away.
Okay.
that allows, once inside the human body,
Mm-hmm.
it's carrying a message to produce the spike proteins.
Okay.
So when it does, the human body will say, well, this, we haven't seen this antigen. It's now an antigen. All right. So the vaccine gets into human body, it gets into your cell, and then the human body says, well, wait a minute, I've not seen this spike protein before. And then the body will start making antibodies against that vaccine. That is what you need to do. That is what your body needs. So for you to get the protection from your vaccine, your body has to manufacture antibodies. And then the body also has to send messages through your lymph nodes, through your lymphatics, okay? To some cells, important cells, to remember this in the future. So if once you have your immunity established, you've taken your first dose and your second dose of the vaccines, and you've established immunity, if you're exposed to coronavirus in the future,
Yes.
as soon as its spike comes in, your body already has the antibodies here, and you just simply lock it in,
Oh.
and it cannot infect you.
Okay. This is.
So this is very important.
Yes, it is.
The whole idea of the vaccine is not to create harm to the human body. It does not contain anything unusual that will create something else.
Uh-huh.
Instructions. The messenger RNA can only produce proteins that is designed to produce.
Okay.
And in this case, it can only it's been encoded with genetic information to manufacture spike proteins only. So there is no way for it to begin to manufacture something else that will kill you.
All right. So, from what you have just said, Dr. Wu, you are very sure of the messenger RNA vaccine.
Yes.
All right. So, the other ones which you also made mention about, you didn't emphasize so much on that. So, how safe really are those other ones? Since we have no data to determine their side effects.
The AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine,
Yeah.
is going through the old technique. It's going through the old system of manufacturing vaccines.
Okay.
So again, that the data has been evaluated in the UK.
Yeah.
It's manufactured in the UK.
Okay. Yes.
And UK scientists are top. They are top scientists in the world. After going through their evaluation, they have approved the vaccine for use based on their findings. So, with time, other countries will do the same thing.
Okay.
Now, we recognize, again, remember we've had vaccines in the past, the same way that they make flu vaccine every year. The same way they used to make vaccines for polio, all right, measles, chickenpox. All those vaccines have been, it's just that they take a long time. They take a long time to make. But those have been evaluated, and before they are used for human, before they are made for the masses, they have to go through the protocols. They have to satisfy, and they have to, they pass the guidelines. So it's still going through, and I'm sure as time goes on, the Astrazeneca will also be available and very competitive, just like the other ones. The Sputnik, as I said, the Sputnik intentionally have not brought. I'm not here to discuss politics.
Okay.
If you want your vaccine to be available for the rest of the world, you have to allow the international community to evaluate your vaccine.
Okay.
And make sure that it's at par with the rest of the world. And until you do that, we cannot talk too much about it because we don't know what the safety mechanisms are.
All right, Dr. Chicks, please. I have a question for you online. Somebody another doctor who is based here is asking, how fast does the virus replicate? That's his first question. The second question that came in now is, his name is Dr. Igwebuike, that's his name. So he said, Dr. Chooks, I'm concerned about the new variant of the virus, which can reduce the efficacy of the vaccines.
Right.
How do you react to that?
Yes. Now, the first question again.
The first question is, how fast does the virus replicate?
Well, again, in terms of replication, that is still being studied. What we know is that from the day you're exposed to this, to the beginning of symptoms, it's anywhere from 7 to 10 days on the average. So emphasis has been on that, rather than how fast it replicates. And this is a new vaccine. There's still a lot of research ongoing, and it will take some time to know those details. Scientists have just been focusing mainly on from the time of exposure to the beginning of symptoms and modalities on how to avoid that, to mitigate the continued spread in the community.
Okay.
The second part talks about the variants.
Yes.
Because it was just recently that we started hearing that there are new variations in some parts of the world. So far, the science believes that even though there are variables, most of these will still go through the spread using an invasion by spike protein.
Okay.
So even though they are different, it's believed that they will respond to the vaccines that are available. With time, all of this, we're still learning some of this. We know also that for the flu vaccine, there are variations from year to year, and science have been up to the par in able to manufacture yearly new flu vaccines to respond to whatever variants that are available. Because as we know, viruses can, develop variations as part of maintaining their invasion. So as time goes on, scientists will also do the same in modifying these vaccines to meet up with the standards.
All right. Dr. Igobike, so are you cleared now, because you said you are listening to him? Are you cleared with the answer that Dr. Chooks has given to you? All right. While you are still processing that, there's a question here. Somebody in the studio, an activist. Can we have your question?
All right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Doctor. And I've been listening to your explanation, and I believe that a lot of people are watching and listening to you. And then I got a few questions for you.
Okay.
First, personally, Actually, I don't believe anything that comes from the Western world. That's number one. But I try to believe when someone like you and or other vibrant doctor like you can explain, give more details about what they are ministering to people's life. I can believe if he's well convinced. But there's one thing that shockings me about a question the host asked you, and the answer was not well understood. She asked you, said, "You are a Nigerian. We got a lot of great medical doctor like you who are from Nigeria, who are from Africa, and we got a lot of them. Let's forget about the bad leadership, okay? And who can as well create a vaccine just like the one you will be talking about,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
We have more capable doctors from Africa. Why is it that there is a certain superpower that had to validate the vaccine before everybody had to start using it? I remember many years back, there is a flu that I'm from Benin. There's a flu that used to disturb kids. We call it Ude. All right, that flu is very deadly. It's even more. It's dead. Is deadlier than this COVID-19 we're talking about. Because when it happens, you breathe. You don't. You can't. You can't. You can't breathe down. Okay. And if you look at that flu with the way you guys explain about this COVID-19, which I don't even believe, is almost the same, but that one is more deadly. Our old mothers, old fathers who live in the bush, they have some herbs that, first of all, before they minister into your body, they take a razor blade and cut your tummy. I think you must understand what I'm talking about. It's also, you are from the east. They will use razor blade to cut your tummy, and they will put something that look like ginger and alligator pepper. They will rub your tummy with it. Those things is what when a child is having that sickness, the tummy will be so big. All right, it will be so big. So after they cut it and they will apply that ginger and that alligator pepper with some herbs, which I don't know the name. Then after a few days, everything goes out. What am I saying? This is, we have capable traditional medical doctors in Africa, apart from the medical one that we trying to ignore that because of our bad government, which I don't agree. Because we have companies, medical companies in Africa, individual medical companies, which are capable of doing this. But the world government, the World Health Organization, who we believe that they are the people patronizing all these flu, which just came not so long, and all of a sudden they're bringing out vaccine. Why HIV, cancer have been killing people for more than 5 decades, and they have not been able to bring one vaccine. And these are the same World Health Organization have to first of all setting the medication before everybody start using it. Why is it like that? I want you to give me a concrete answer, because I have my own people, and I don't believe in anything that have to do with COVID-19. Because, you know the reason? Are you listening to me?
I'm listening.
I got it last year before I went to Africa, right? I went to a party. 99.9% of everybody that were in that party contracted COVID-19. And everybody was tested positive. All right?
Right.
And some of these people that were tested positive, some of them, they got high blood pressure. I got even about 3 of the girls. They are Essex. All right. You know, you're a medical doctor. You know what that means. All right. They have this kind of health issue that they are very vulnerable to any kind of sicknesses. All right.
Right.
And when they contacted, one of them was so close to me, and she was looking at me. Why are you not scared? I said, I'm not scared. Because from the start of this COVID, I understand it's a flu. And I've studied it, and I believe it's a normal flu that comes and go. So I don't believe it can have effect in you. They went for test. They asked me to go for test. I said, no, I will not go with you guys for test for now. I will go later. Okay? And I told them, take your normal hot water, all right? Mind you, what you put in your nose cannot prevent you, okay? It's a flu. It goes. It spreads so fast. Do you know, after a week, those one that was tested positive, they went back for a second test.
Okay.
All
So
of them.
can I break in for a second?
Yes. All of them was tested negative.
Can I break in for a second?
Thank you.
For the purposes of time, and we expect several people to call in. We will rather expect everybody to limit their discussion, their questions for a few minutes.
Okay.
But gentlemen, I'd like to address some of the essential points that you've made, if you will.
Yeah.
Several, you have several questions in one.
Yes, because of the time.
So I'd like to start by saying, number one, COVID-19 is real.
Yes, it is.
Individuals can make up their mind on what they believe in, but part of this discussion, the entire reason for this discussion is to disseminate as much facts as are available, because this is a deadly disease and a lot of people are dying.
Yes.
And a lot of people will continue to die. So if we can use the little time we have to spread as much truth as possible based on facts. The gentleman was concerned that Africa is not doing much in manufacturing or producing vaccines. And he gives an example that our grandparents use certain techniques to take care of illnesses. Now, a lot of things have been done for centuries to stay alive. There is modern science which goes by facts. If you want 7 billion people on the planet to take a medication or to have a particular treatment, you have to have your facts documented, reproducible. So, if you simply go by what your grandmother did, if you, for instance, or some other research people can provide 35,000, because you have to have stage 1, okay, trial of a few hundred people, stage 2 trial of a few thousand people, and you're getting the same results. And then your phase 3 trial is about 30,000 plus people. And then you compare that similarly with 15 to 30,000 individuals without that treatment, and then you expose them to the same antigen, and then you can make your statistics to prove that your method works. Presently, both the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines are in the 90-something% range of success. So we have nothing against using some old technique to take care of things, but we need the facts. So For Africa to start doing that, their doctors have to begin to show that that particular technique works. Now, as soon as COVID started, one of the presidents said, I don't want to bring politics into this, but one of the presidents of one of the countries in Africa quickly manufactured something, a liquid that they drink, and claimed that it was killing COVID. It was healing COVID people. It was for treatment of COVID-19.
Okay.
There are no documented facts, okay? There are no paper that anybody else can look through and say, okay, these are the chemical or the ingredients in this particular thing. Show us your success rate before you bring it out to the public. So this is, medicine does not go by that, okay? Health system, and we don't experiment for the sake of experimenting.
Yes.
We don't joke with human lives.
Exactly.
So for the president of an African country to wake up and begin to advertise some liquid for the rest of the world to drink against COVID-19 with no proof, it's kind of it's shameful.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Excuse me, sir. Let me finish. Now, you talked about a lot of doctors in diaspora who can come together and make a vaccine in Africa. Well, I put it to you that to make a vaccine is very expensive. One of the reasons why the messenger RNA vaccine was done within 1 year was because several countries put out millions of dollars up front. The United States, many countries in Europe paid for put a down payment for the vaccines up front, recognizing that if they failed, they were losing millions. I think America put in $1.2 billion or something. Don't quote me exactly, but a huge amount of money, hoping that if the vaccine does not work, that's a loss. But if the vaccine worked, then they are ahead of the game because of how dangerous this illness is and the amount of people who are dying from this. So no, this is not the flu.
Okay.
This is not the flu.
All right. Can we go to...
I still have one more question.
All right. But before you go for your question, please,
okay,
can I just ask him this?
Okay.
So, Dr. Chunks.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you please... we have this... there's this belief that some people died or collapsed after taking the vaccine. What triggered those reactions, please?
In terms of, again, the whole idea of all of this is to put everything on the table. Every medication may have some side effects through the manufacturing process. Now, for instance, when you create a vaccine, you're going to have some chemicals to make the vaccine stay preserved. You're going to have chemicals that will allow the vaccine to be transported from places to places and stay longer.
Okay.
Now, if your manufacturing lab, if you will, may be such that you have manufactured vaccines in the past, there may still be a little trace of chemicals from the previous vaccine that are in this. The bottom line is, the recommendation is if you have had reaction to previous vaccines, you'll be in a special section. If you have multiple antibodies, in other words, multiple allergies to some types of food, some types of medication, you'll be on one section.
Oh, okay.
If you are pregnant, again, we don't mess around with things. You are on one side. If you are already dealing with cancer and on chemotherapy, you'll be on one side. So when you have your vaccination and you'll be about 30 minutes, 15 minutes on the average to look for side effects.
Okay.
Two ladies, when this started, two patients in UK had anaphylactic reaction, and they quickly were treated with epinephrine, which is adrenaline, and then they recovered quickly. Those two again informed them that they have allergies to other different medications.
Okay.
So since then, we know that people who have had reaction in the past to other things, they have to be done in the hospital to make sure that they have facility to counteract the reaction. One patient fainted in the United States that I know of. About half an hour, she was giving a speech afterwards.
Yeah.
Now, they helped her quickly. It was minor, all right?
Okay.
But when she recovered herself, she told them that she has a history.
Yes, I listened to that one.
She has a history that, so either from the pain or so, some people, or some emotional response
Yeah.
can create that. So those are minor things compared to the problem. So the whole idea is, so far, there has not been a documentation anywhere of serious reactions that have not been taken care of.
All right. So you have taken COVID. You have taken the vaccine.
I've had the vaccine. I've had my second one 2 days ago.
Wow. Okay. So can you please tell us a bit of your reactions?
I had the Pfizer vaccine.
The Pfizer. Okay.
Okay. The first time I had no problems the entire day. I had my work. I had my full day work. But when I went to bed, when I woke up, I had minor aches.
Minor aches. Okay.
Minor aches for about 4 hours. You could tell that something happened the day before, and that was the jab. And then I had a little discomfort at the site of the jab, and that was it. Now, some people have had a little bit more than that, especially with the Moderna, in terms of some of the discomfort at the site. And then 3 weeks later, I had my second dose.
Yeah.
Now, this second time, again, the first 8 hours was fine. I was back at work. But I noticed that the same aches and pains happened sooner, within 8 hours, rather than 24 hours, the first one. And this time it was a little bit more moderate, if you will. I felt a little tired and had to go to bed early, and I felt a little chilly.
Yeah.
So overnight, as I said, I felt like somebody who was about to develop malaria. We use the word malaria for any symptoms like malaise, chills, in medical terms, what we call constitutional symptoms. And then the day after, that improved.
Okay.
But then the discomfort at the site was still there. But I was still able to assist a colleague of mine in surgery.
Oh, really?
All right. And then today is the 2 days after, and I'm here with you.
Really? So the symptoms of losing of memory and all of that, which we normally hear?
There's none of that.
No dizziness? No dizziness?
Not again. If it happens with people, it can happen with people, but those will be temporary.
Oh, okay.
Those will be minor and temporary. I didn't experience any of that.
Really?
If anybody does, it will be temporary. The thing with vaccines is many people can have some of these minor responses. What I would suggest is, especially for the second dose, if they can have their schedule such that the next day will be light, or, they will have a light duty the next day or not even go to work.
Okay, I think that would be better.
So they go home and recuperate completely. All right? Because if somebody gets dizzy, it's just because the body is creating a response.
So if I may ask you, the 2 dosages you've had, does that mean that you are not going to have vaccine, the COVID vaccine anymore for life?
We don't know that yet. This is all new to everybody.
Okay.
What science is doing is science will still be checking people down the road to see what immunity they've built in, how long the immunity lasts. This is a new disease. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. So
what do you have to say regarding to the vaccine altering people's DNA? Is that
so can I get the slide that tells you about the cell? Can I show the slide that tells you? Very good, thank you. Now, everything that can deal with your DNA happens in the nucleus, the center.
Okay.
This vaccine never gets to the center. So when you get your shot, it's encoded in the nanoparticles, which are lipid proteins that allows the delivery of this messenger RNA vaccine into your cell. When it arrives at the cell, I can see that slide again, please. It's very important. It's deposited on the body of the cell itself, the cytoplasm of the cell, not in the nucleus. It can never get into your nucleus. So once it arrives in the cell, there are ribosomes in this cell that immediately know what they're supposed to do, and they begin to work on it. And then, as soon as the job is done, that messenger RNA is destroyed by the body through a natural mechanism. So there is no way for this vaccine to alter your DNA.
Then that's good to know. Wow, this is good. This is good.
These are based on facts.
Yeah. I'm excited about this now. So the last question for you has to come from the studio. The activist that is here. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. And I really enjoyed the way you trying to inculcate this everything into our own understanding.
Yes.
But my question to you, because I know there's not much time in the studio, how can the rest of the world, especially the Africans, trust this vaccine from these so-called from the rest of the world, all those things? All right.
Yes.
Because like people like us who grew up here in Europe, and we have lived with them, and we have seen their activities towards Africans, it's very difficult for us to be convinced about anything coming from the Western world, all right? Just like the vaccine of the polio, how Bill Gates brought this vaccine polio, and a lot of people were infected and people died of it. And how many years back they brought some vaccine to South Africa in the name of vaccine, and they infected a lot of them with HIV and other sicknesses. But and this is coming now. You just said something about some of the side effects you were having when you ministered it. And how can you guarantee us, or the manufacturers, the producers, guarantee that apart from the little side effects you just mentioned, that is going to be the least, the main side effect, and nothing will happen? What is the guarantee they're giving to humanity? All right, because we have seen a lot, not the Western world, the Africans have seen more than enough of all this vaccine that happens to be a great abomination, a great terrible things in our lives. So convincing us, we need more explanation about this.
Yes, thank you for that. And that is exactly why we are having this discussion. The idea that bad things have happened in the past. Okay? Again, without being political, a lot of bad things have happened, not just in vaccination, not just in medicine, but in other spheres of life. That's a fact. Things are changing, and things are changing for the better. There are regulatory bodies right now all over the world to expose any of this happening henceforth. Unfortunately, because of the ills of the society that happened in the past, there's a lot of burden on all of us now who have a little idea to teach our fellow colleagues, our fellow men and women, that this time has changed. Things are different. We are dealing with a very terrible pandemic, and all of us have to get as much information to help us control this deadly disease. So part of being able to do so is to give as much information to the public as possible. Okay? As much information as possible. And that involves having a dialogue like this. Now, the way these vaccines are being manufactured because there's a lot of money poured in, and everybody will benefit. So this is not a vaccine that is created for Africa. There will not be a separate vaccine production for Africa. This is all from the same pool. This is all from the same pool. The same vaccine that was just given to Queen Elizabeth this weekend. The same vaccine that has been given to our incoming president-elect, Joe Biden. The same vaccines that are being given to a lot of international people all over the world is exactly the same vaccine that will be brought to Africa.
How do we know?
So how do we know? How do we know? Is because, excuse me. This is very important. There really is. Listen to me. There is a lot of falsehood. Okay? There's a lot of falsehood on social media, in medicine, in politics, and unfortunately, falsehood is now being normalized on social media, which is painful. So it becomes difficult to convince the average person. Now let me bust one myth, for instance.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't have any personal gains from Bill Gates. But Bill Gates has played such a huge part. Bill Gates, excuse me, listen to me. These are facts. Okay? These are facts. You can research this if you want.
Yeah.
Okay? The polio virus
Yeah, we know.
was eradicated in different parts of the world for years. It was just only within the last 2 years that polio virus was eradicated in northern Nigeria. Only within the last 2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation played a very big part in helping to eradicate polio in the north.
Okay.
Now, there's a lot of false information about Bill Gates on the internet. A lot of false information. So unfortunately, people try to, I'm here to discuss the facts. And I can show you articles and articles. I can show you an interview that Bill Gates had with the Emir of Kano before he was, as part of an effort to help the northerners to eradicate polio. All of that is available. But what we're trying to say is, when you manufacture vaccine, there is no way to separate a box that says this box is going to Africa and it has to be contaminated. No. And right now, listen to me. Right now, several philanthropic organizations, again, most of those are not in Africa, are trying to raise money so that Africans will benefit also from this vaccine for free.
Oh.
For free. Several philanthropic organizations are trying to put the money up front to do so out of their hearts.
Please, let me ask you one question. Sorry for this African issue, all right, about this COVID in Lagos, all right, Nigeria in general. As I said, I just came from Africa, right? And based on your explanation, how these COVID spreads, because when you started, you said you have to put on your mask, you have to wash your hands, sanitize your hand, all those kind of things.
Right.
All right. Social distance as well, right?
Yes.
Correct.
I just came from Africa, right? Nigeria specifically, right? Nigeria, the local transports, all right? The way they park themselves in the bus is still the same. There is no social distance, all right?
Yes.
And I compare that, all right? I got a video with me, summertime in July, in Holland, in Den Haag. I went to a beach. I'm going to drop the video in the studio when we finish. We were about more than 200,000 to 300,000 in summertime. Everyone, there was nothing like social distance or mask in their nose, whatever. And how come this same COVID-19, they said it was killing some people in some cities, in some countries, and we are not hearing it? Because there was a story from the Italy, 700 people, 600 people were dying a day. I got some friends, I got some cousins in that same city, and I was calling them. They said they are shocked that such numbers of persons are dying and that they are not seeing it. So the whole story is so confusing.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know. Like you, I take you like my brother. Okay, I believe that you can't lie to me because you got no reason to lie.
Yes.
But when you're trying to compare the whole stories together, you can see that we need more explanation, more convincing explanation about the whole thing.
Because the whole thing don't seem to be too real. It's like COVID was generated from the laboratory. Yes. That's the way people are thinking. But having heard from somebody like Dr. Juice, he has no reason to lie to you and I or to the masses.
We still have Alamajiri in the north. We still have beggars in the street of Lagos. When they take their plates, you eat, you drop on the floor, they pick it up and they eat. Okay. And all these people
maybe they have higher immune
So
system.
I want you to speak more about that before the.
Well, we are
before
rounding up
close.
now. He may not have the time to speak, but I think.
No, I do. Actually, this is very important. I do, if you don't mind.
Yeah, okay, then go ahead.
One of the things that scientists have also recognized is that, again, this is an evolving situation. We've had COVID for just about a year.
Yes.
COVID treatment of COVID is very expensive. From the PPEs that we wear to take care of these patients, to the medications necessary to take care of this. Now, we also have noticed, just like you have said, that somehow we don't have huge numbers in the belt around the equator, of which several African countries are. Thank God we don't have that. We don't know why, but research is still ongoing, why somehow we see less amount of the virus, less numbers in those areas. Because if we have been exposed, if those African countries have been exposed to the same amount of numbers or invasion of COVID, it will have been difficult to manage because we don't have the resources. So somehow God is protecting Africa. That's the only way you can say it.
Exactly. That's right.
But then it does not mean that COVID is not happening in other parts of the world. When you go to the beach, as you said, when you go to the beach, there's a lot of wind in the beach. There's a lot of wind. So, and exposure depends on the dose of vaccine, the dose of virus that you get. So if I'm if I'm spilling COVID-19 right now in front of you, and I'm 6 feet away from you,
Yes.
and you don't have any protection, sooner or later, it's going to get to you. If you and I stay there for several hours, and there is no air, there is no fresh air blowing away some of this virus away from me. So when you are at the beach, and that, even though people were cautioned to avoid being in close contact at the beach, but what has been found was that there's a lot of wind blowing and moving the volume of infection away, moving the volume of virus away from people. That way, minimizing the dose of the virus they are inhaling. And we believe that that may play a part. That may be the reason why many people did not get exposed. I mean, people who were exposed at beaches were not contracting it.
Yeah.
But then, when people give the impression that we are not seeing these dead people, I'll ask them, how many times have you gone to a hospital and said, please show me dead people?
Yeah,
No, the one they were dying, they died in the street in Italy.
This is very important. So the average Joe says, well, they're talking about all these people dying from all this vaccine, all this COVID, and we don't see it. So my question to them is, when was the last time you went to your local hospital? Because I work there, and I have seen morgues full of dead people, and I have seen loads of fridge, those big, you guys call them lorries, we call them trucks.
Yeah.
Okay, those big trucks, cold fridges that they're called, packed next to the morgue because there are no room at the end.
It's unbelievable. Was it just killing them this way?
In Amsterdam, where we live here in Prague, in a small city.
Excuse me. There are lots of funeral homes, lots of funeral homes in America complaining and showing videos of building extra spaces to accommodate the dead.
Car.
Okay, and they're still not enough. Now, in America, where they keep records.
Yes.
Okay, every one of those people has a confirmed diagnosis of COVID,
Really.
and every one of those people have evidence based on blood work
Yes.
and everything else to show that they are not dying. They are not dying because of the high blood pressure they've had for years.
No.
They are not dying because of the diabetes that they've had for years.
Jesus.
Okay, they are dying from all the manifestations of COVID, both based on blood work, based on X-rays, based on CAT scan, and every other manifestation.
Terrible. Deadly sickness.
So unfortunately, this is real. If you're waiting to see dead people on the street, I will suggest you go to your hospital where COVID is still active and you see dead people.
Do you know another thing? Like in my building, I live in
Tall building.
tall building, all right, about the 17th floor. Yeah, all right. There was a time, because in Holland, in Amsterdam, when there is someone with COVID negative, positive, sorry, it will be labeled in the building that there is COVID-19 here, so everybody have to be very careful. That is the rules in Amsterdam, all right? In my building, for almost like 2 months, all right, there was a posters on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Not only in my building, in fact, because we live in a very small village, all right? It's not so big. We eventually knows everybody, all right? We live together for 20-something years, so we knows everybody. But when this COVID-19 started, and the way they were singing music about it in my own area, that COVID-19 is just in my area, is filled up with it. We couldn't see one person that was hospitalized.
Okay.
And that is something that I can also prove. Okay. You know, this is something that is confusing everybody. Okay. Like the pastor, the reverend in the studio, they have lived there for how many decades, all right?
Yes.
And they cannot even prove one person. We're talking about people got their own auditorium and congregation. God forbid, I'm not praying for any of their congregation to be infected with COVID-19. But at least, because some of them that have been infected, they're also Christians. How many have you people seen? How many? It's not. But what am I trying to say this? I'm not trying to debunk there is no COVID-19.
But churches are not allowed to gather, so you only gather few people. Time to
before they were stopped, madam. Before they were stopped, Reverend.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
There was nothing like that. So all this thing is just from one side. And it seems there's no real physical proof in it. And like as we trying to see if there's proof so that we are followers. If I have a concert, thousands of people comes. So I should be able to speak concerning anything that have to do with something like disturbing people's life. So that is why we are concerned about this, so that you can enlighten us more to our own understanding.
Yes.
Very good, very good. So I'm glad you have not had COVID patients in your area. So it means that people are listening. That's what they want to hear. People are
We've had people who died on that.
We have no death.
They died. No, Nigerians who have died on that.
In Amsterdam, in Burma.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. No, if I open my WhatsApp, you will see they are putting them in the Nigerian platform. Those who have died. Yes.
A lot. We don't want to hear that many people are dying. It means that they're doing something good. They are following the guidelines. But anybody who wants to see dead people and to make them believe,
you go to
the hospital, and ask them, do you have COVID patients for me to see?
Bring him out now. Actually, Let them see him laughing because
But what
this is what is making Dr.
the whole idea of doing this, the whole idea of going through this, all this is we can have some interaction like this.
Yeah.
We can discuss this honestly.
Yes.
We can discuss the concerns, and then we can still come back to the fact that as much information that is necessary to help our brothers and sisters to recognize that yes, COVID is real, and people are dying. A lot, people are dying, and we're hoping that it will take a while. It will take a while for everybody to get their vaccines.
Well,
All right. So we're hoping that we want people to recognize that this vaccine is very safe. Whichever one you take, if it's the Pfizer, the Moderna, and the Astrazeneca when it's approved.
wow.
As I said again, the Johnson and Johnson is still going through phase 3 trials.
Sputnik.
The Sputnik,
Yeah, Sputnik.
Sputnik 5. At some point, Russia will bring it up, to the rest of the international community to evaluate. And then the vaccine being made by China will also eventually go through all their their phase 3 trials and then bring them to international organizations to
And
evaluation.
we're looking forward to the vaccine made in Africa as well. So that will round up the whole thing.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate.
On this note,
Thank you.
We enjoy you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
on this note, we want to say thank you, Dr. Chicks, for all your contributions. The Lord richly bless you. I noticed something that whenever AB is talking, is that your dog there? Your Summer? Summer is there? Summer's ear is so enlarged. Summer is so used to the voice of AB. Anytime AB begins to talk to the master, the dog will just look. He's just behaving like a human being. Well, Summer, we greet you, and we thank everybody who have contributed to us making this broadcast a success. God richly bless all of you, all our fans from the internet as well. God bless you, Dr. Gbemike, and the rest of you, Carol, Elton, and the rest of you have watched. Dr. Chus, we say God richly bless you, and may He continue to protect you as you continue to save lives in this generation. And we don't forget, people, those of you who are out there, remember to take your mask. Put on your mask and or take your shield. Put on your shield while we continue. Wash your hand and make sure you take the vitamin C and B and D with the other one. What's the name again? The other zinc with zinc. Make sure you take those things regularly every day, and while we keep our trust in Christ. So we wish you a very successful year, 2021. Let it be COVID-free, and we are trusting God that Africa will develop the vaccine as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Chus, and God richly bless you. Thank you, AB. God bless every one of you.
Thank you.
We look forward, Dr. Chus, for you to empower us this way